Hi, this is Bob Sorrentino from Italian Roots and Genealogy, and I'm here today with Carla Gambescia, and she's got two websites, Postcards from the Boot and La Dolce Vita University, and she's also authored a couple of books and out there gives lectures. So welcome, Carla. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Bob. Glad to be here. I'm here recording live from the
from Venice.
Academia Bridge. I wish, right? Yeah.
Oh, I know. I wish I was doing these things from Italy.
Right.
It would be so much more fun.
Yeah.
But these turn out to be a lot of fun anyway. So certainly want to talk to you about the two websites because they're great websites. But before we do that, where are your family from?
Well, so this is interesting. I grew up. I grew up in South Philly. I grew up in a super Italian neighborhood with parents who were very, very proud of their Italian heritage. But I think a lot of people of, our age, our generation, have a real sense of, what regions they were from and they knew. And this was something that I didn't know. Yet as a child, from my earliest memories, I knew I was Italian and that made me special and that was incredible. And my father would tell me that I had descended from the Romans and the Medici. Now, you're like 6 or 7 years old and you don't really know what to make of that, but I knew that was good and important and it sort of set a high bar for me. So I grew up in South Philly knowing I was Italian, that it was good and that somehow there was something great in my heritage. But only in later life did I really discover, because my parents were going to speak English. We had our meals that were uniquely ours, but it was really about being American. And only in later life did I learn that on my mother's side was they came very early. They came in the late 1870s, and they came from the province of, or the region of Basilicata, a town called Acciatura, which is way up in the mountains. And I've visited there a number of times. I've actually ridden my bicycle there. And I really don't know how they got to the boat because it is very remote. That area is also known as the Piccolo Dolomiti. And there was an influx of Italians at this time from the south. Um, and there was a big earthquake in the 1880s. And there was no rebuilding there. Now you had unification, all the promise of that, but it wasn't good. And they came and they first went to Argentina, and then they didn't like that. And then they came to New York, but they loved Philadelphia. They thought there were more trees, and so they settled there. So that side is from Basilicata, the town of Acciatora. And there's a street in town. Uh, it's like, Via Di Biasi. And that's one of our family names. And my father's family is from Abruzzo, in and around Chieti, and my father's mother is from Campobasso in Molise. So, but I've, again, found these things out later, say in my 30s, and not really from my parents. So it's interesting, and I really connect to my Southern Italian roots, and I'm very interested in culture, and that animates me sharing Italian culture with others. Um, but personally, when I travel to Italy, I love the cities, I love the museums. But when I go south, and the more south I get, the happier I am. I mean, there's something about it that just feels so, I don't know, home. It's amazing. So I just really personally favor the South. I love Puglia. I love Campania. I love Sicily. I love to be in the South. So Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say that too. I'm from the South, so, uh, but I think it's a homier feeling in the South, I think, than in the North.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember my first trip to Italy. It was with my parents, and I was 8 years old. And as soon as we got to Naples, and people were like, "This was like 1963 or 60." I don't. It was, you know, it's like Naples. It's like, oh my God, you're going to Naples. I mean, you're crazy. And my parents were like so happy there and just like so relaxed in the Bay of Naples and everything about it. It was soothing. It was just, I don't know, it had a serenity to it. And I just remember, and again, when you're little, whatever, you have these certain impressions. And, I liked what I liked as a child. I mean, I liked Venice because it was magic. And I still have this beautiful piece of, we went to see a glassmaker and they made me a horse. So I still have my horse. It
That's
broke once, but I repaired it. So I have a horse from 1963.
that's cool. That's so cool. Yeah, we had gone 25 years ago, and I didn't know that. I didn't know what I know now. But we just went, and like I said, we were in Naples. My father's family's from Naples, so you walk around, and I say this to everybody: you walk around in a hometown that you came from, and you're walking the streets that your grandparents walked, or your great grandparents walked. Uh, it's a it's almost a spiritual feeling, you know.
It definitely is, and I mean, I feel that way in Acciatorre. They have this amazing festival in May. It's called the Maggio, which is they have this kind of it's pagany thing, where they have the wedding of the trees, and it's a male tree and a female tree, and they whatever. But it's just amazing, to know that your family, I mean, it is amazing and it's spiritual. I would agree with that. It definitely has an incredible feeling. But honestly, I arrive and on a plane wherever I land, as soon as I get off, I'm happier. I'm just like, oh, I'm here. I'm like so happy that I'm here, and it just everything, all the tension, it just drains out, and I'm suddenly in this beautiful place of joy and beauty. And I mean, so much of what I've done, and this is something that for me, the rediscovery, I had these seeds planted when I was young, and I went about my life and I did things that, I just did things that were not centered around Italy or Italian culture. I was a marketing consultant. I traveled. I traveled a lot in the Far East. I did a lot of things very far flung, very mind expanding, very interesting work. And um, it was, I don't know, it was like maybe 1995, 1996. I took a bike trip in Sicily. And again, people were like not really going to Sicily in like the mid 90s. And something happened when I was there. And it was, I kind of consider it my personal renaissance, where it was really life changing. I came back and, I mentioned I was a consultant, and I specialized in food marketing, food, beverages, um, food service. Uh, and I came back and I'm like, I am going to open a restaurant that it's going to be a concept. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to have gelato and coffee and a mozzarella bar. I had these ideas. And I'm going to celebrate culture. I want people to come in and have the food be this portal to culture. I would tell stories and use food to tell stories. And so, sure enough, so I had this vision and I'm going to open a restaurant. And it took me 20 years to do it. And I did. And so, but that particular trip, this trip to Sicily, where, the services weren't good, the bike trip was disorganized, it didn't matter one bit because the people they embraced us. And the tour people they were so gracious and trying so hard, and it was just a feeling. And it was just magical, transformative, and it did change my life. I mean, I opened a restaurant, and it was better than what I had in my head. And, people have memories. It's interesting. I do this blog, Postcards from the Boot, where I do interesting, like sort of photo tours. It's like a little mini vacation once a month. And someone wrote to me, she said, "Oh, I hope you're going to open another restaurant." And I'm thinking, never, never, never. But,
It's so
you
much
know,
work, right?
I'm, she's saying she missed it so much, blah, 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 all these happy memories. And to know that, I end up creating something that was a part of other people's lives. I mean, it changed me, but it was part of other people's lives. But, I did programs. I had Italian classes for children, and, they learned food words. It was really nice, but it is hard work. And I realized that I could do more, reach more through my writing and my blogging and my lectures, than I ever could, in a restaurant that's seated 50, so there's just so much that you can do in terms of outreach with something like that. But,
Yeah, no, and I
that was quite a
understand.
big
And
journey.
when I started doing my stuff, I was doing the blog and writing and everything, and that was fun. It was great, but it was only one way. And
Right.
that's why I'm doing the interviews now, because everybody's story is similar but yet so different. The family history, uh, the stories about how they discovered their family, the little skeletons in the closet and stuff. And it's just
Oh, yes.
it's so cool
It's
to hear these things.
yeah, yeah. And and everything I've done really, I've dedicated to my parents because, they, even though we had this kind of on the outside, we're American, all of this, the, the, how we were proud, and the pride in being Italian that was instilled by my parents. Now, my father, and they were different, and they gave me different things. So my father was a physician. He died when I was 11, but his influence on me was incredibly powerful. And he was a great storyteller. And he would tell me, on Sunday we would have Italian lessons. So we'd do words and we'd talk. And then we inevitably would move to, like, I wanted him to tell me a story. And he would tell me stories like of Vivaldi, the Preta Rossa, the Red Priest, who taught the orphan girls to sing and play the violin, and then when we go to to Venice to see his church, just incredible. Or Dante and Beatrice, and this love story, and he sees her, she's 9 years old, and I'm like 7, and I'm like, cool, you know so all of these things, and they became real to me. And it would be like, tell me the Dante story again, or tell me about Galileo and the ball and Pisa and all of those things. And so they became familiar to me in the way that's like a Hansel and Gretel kind of thing. And I loved the stories. And I had this, and then in my restaurant, I named my pizzas, all of my pizzas, after great Italian, and they took on characteristics of the people. So, for example, the Vivaldi was roasted red and yellow peppers, in honor of his, flaming red hair. But I wrote little things in the menu to give people this information. So it wasn't just an inside joke for me,
Mhm.
and I had these they were little cards, and people collected them. They were fun facts. And it was brought to you by La Dolce Vita University. And so that's how the name of the book that I wrote, came about, La Dolce Vita University, which was, these little fun facts and vocabulary cards that people collected that were like on the table, or whatever. But, and then the book came out of came out of the restaurant. And then my photography, I would have these slideshows of my photos, um, in, a flat screen on the bar. We had different things, but there was always a flat screen that had photographs of places, and people would like to watch that. And so, yeah,
That's so
those,
cool. And you mentioned the stories and everything like that, and I think that's one of the saddest things. We're losing that now with the youth. Our youth isn't connected like we're connected, and
no, no. And actually, I mean, it's so interesting because, I have my background. I went to business school. I was a marketing person. And so everyone has all of the organizations, uh, all of them, have this issue with, declining membership. How do we engage youth? And then basically we have all these people who are like, I call them fractionals. They have maybe one grandparent, and you know, people are, you don't have the close family bonds. People move, all of these things. And um, one of the things that I really want to do, and this is sort of post pandemic, I mean, during the pandemic, I really hunkered down. I wrote more. I was lecturing constantly. But now, what I really want to do is go back into the world of business and to create and engage people in things that are for profit. Because actually, like charitable things, it's hard to keep people's energy. Like when it's,
Mhm.
it's like you get people given the opportunity to make money, they'll be excited. But things that actually promote an amazing image, exciting image of Italy, and young people. So, for example, like one thing I really want to do is to create, and this is part of it's what I was trying to do with really my restaurant, but it was like a restaurant, and it's hard when you're doing food service, full menu. It's harder, but if you're doing gelato and coffee and small plates, you can do more interesting things. But to create a space that makes a statement about Italy today, oggi, Italia oggi, bar oggi, where young people can come in and say, wow, this is so cool. I think I'm a quarter Italian, my inner Italian. It's like, get people to really embrace their roots. I mean, it's a country people love. They want to visit it. It's like most popular country always to visit, but to really get people to engage with their roots and to embrace that, fractional part of themselves, because I think that, there's been various research studies, and I'd like to do a more thorough investigation of this. But, like, people don't want to be French. I mean, they don't want to be French. Italian, it's
Everybody wants to be Italian.
everyone wants to be Italian, right? Exactly. I mean, you talk about, oh my, I would say this to people in my restaurant. I would say, you have an inner Italian. And no one said, what do you mean by that? They said, of course I do, and they understand that that's like their best, most expressive, fun, engaging, like, yeah, happy self. That's what, and so there's something really powerful there. And I, I really think that, um, our community would do itself a great service to, uh, you know, young people are not going to join the organizations. You can try, but I think that that's a uphill battle. I think we have to engage young people in different terms and think about things, in different ways. I mean, I um I would love also. I met an amazing person, a theater director down in Agrigento, who really loved my book, and I've been kicking around with him like, could this be, a Broadway musical, where it's think of Book of Mormon or Cats or whatever, where instead of bada ba bing and the mafia, you have Italy and all of the cultural contributions, but done with fun. I mean, everything I write about is meant to be, I say, edutaining, where it's uplifting. You learn something, you maybe laugh. I just want to make it fun and exciting. And, it's just, it's unfortunate that, um, and so many of Italians have, taken roles that have promoted, these less than positive images of, these, and that have become stereotypes, and it's negative. I mean, we're fully integrated nationality, and yet, these images persist, and, and it's almost like young people think, oh, that's cool, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's true. And there's a couple of us been talking about it. We have to do what the Jewish people have done for the last 20 years, and that's
Well,
to
the
send our youth
birthright,
birthright. Yep,
yes,
exactly,
and
exactly. And I didn't realize how big it really was until Frank and I were talking about it. But one day I just happened in passing to mention it to my neighbor across the street who's Jewish, and he said, "Oh, both my kids have gone."
We'll be right back.
Experience Italy like never before, traveling with a scheduled group or create your own bespoke tour with friends with philitaly.co. Pack your bags and follow Phil. That's www.philitaly.co.
they all go, and well, of
Yeah,
course, they're well funded, and they know how to organize. I mean, this is the herding of cats, but with the Italian community. But one thing, I mean, it's very interesting. The National Italian American Foundation has a program called Voyage of Discovery, and it was endowed by a former ambassador, but they're sending about 200 kids a year, and you know it would be great if they could send 2,000. I mean,
yeah,
maybe it's not a birthright thing, because actually I think it's nice if you feel that you earn it, and that there's something, you have to actually write something in order to qualify, or, it's almost like some kind. It's something that I think should be a goal for young people, as opposed to you just get to go. But I mean, and this is another thing. I mean, there's a mindset within the Italian American community about their little scholarships. Okay, so these scholarships, there's a lot of ways that kids can fund their education, and the scholarship, that whole pattern of, you know monetary support, and what it did, back in 1930 or 1940 or 1950, it's completely different than the environment today. And that money could be better spent sending kids um, on this voyage of discovery. And this, again, and it's, how do you get these organizations to work together? It's not just, well, this organization's program, but to have it be something where people work together to send, people from their area on this, voyage of discovery thing.
yeah.
I,
And I'm working with somebody, the person who did our tour. We're doing a couple of things, but I said to her, we need to get the Italian government involved in some way, shape, or
yes,
form, because Italy is going to benefit from it. Not just our kids, but Birthright Israel. They've contributed over $2 billion to the Israeli uh, um, economy by
right.
having Birthright Israel. So it's a win-win,
Well,
if you know what I mean.
it is, and and then there's all this like, oh, this like whining, like no one is studying Italian. But you know what? If you had something like this, there are all these other like things that cascade down, that you will have repercussions, really positive, that you don't quite understand, but would be really good, because it's like if you have this thing where you will go to Italy for, 2 or 3 weeks in the summer, uh, kids will want to learn the language. And I mean, it's, and especially now, like I don't know, I can't speak to this. I don't have children, about what's being taught in school but I can remember like just the whole learning about ancient Rome,
Yeah.
all of these things. And,
That's all
you
gone.
know, it's, all-
My
it's
kids are
all,
young. That's all gone. They
it's all
don't,
gone. So, and they're not, and the thing is that they're not really going to engage in that way necessarily in a more academic way, but there's a spirit in Italy that it's just they want to be stylish, they want to eat the food, they want to be there, they want to gesture, you know, all of these things that can, be those seeds because, and again, I feel so fortunate. I mean, my parents planted these seeds for me and I went about things, but I came back and I came back to them later. But the seeds were there. And I mean, my mother, I mean, she just loved art and she would like to look at art books. And I would sit with her when I was little. I learned. I learned
yeah,
which artist was which. And
yeah.
so I learned those things.
So I want to talk to you about the websites because I think they're two great websites. So
Thank you.
postcards from the boot. Um, Now I know how you have a lot of your stuff out there, but people could also contribute their
Yes.
stories, right?
Yes, and I wish people would. I mean, because I've had inquiries. I don't charge anyone anything. I'm happy to do that, and I have certain colleagues who have over time, done multiple posts for me. And I mean, I what I'm really looking for are great pictures and like, for example, this month I talked about the chocolate cities. I mean, people, from a culinary point of view, people are like, oh, pasta, or if you think about sweets, you think cannoli or tiramisu, whatever. But I mean, few people know that Italy was the capital of the chocolate producing capital of the world. Uh, After the discovery of cacao in the New World and the Spanish brought it back, it got, all of this production. It came into Italy through the port of Genoa and then was produced in Torino. And so there's, gianduja, chocolate hazelnuts, and, you know, people know about Perugina and all of that, but that came much later. And then in Sicily, they were also the Spanish, the tradition more of how the Aztecs worked with chocolate, which was the chocolate and then the sugar suspended in the chocolate, which you have Modica chocolates, very grainy. It's really interesting, but that's that little that topic this past month, which was talking about the three cities and their relationship to chocolate, was a little bit more content oriented. But my goal, for the most part, is to engage people with great images that give them the sense of a mini vacation once a month, that it's something that they look forward to. And I mean, I don't have a huge list of people, but I have a 40% open rate. And I mean, it hovers like 35, 42. That's a big open rate.
That's a big number.
And
Yeah.
I think it's because like I don't send emails every other day, right? And there it's fun stuff to look at, and people, you can also see they go back, they repeat, and so I feel like I'm engaging people with really interesting visual content, and it is doing what my aspiration is, that it gives them a little, a chance to be emotionally transported, to just travel in their imagination.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly
And
going to
so,
put some of my stuff out there. So I'm going to put
okay,
some of
well,
my stuff out there from our
I
trip. So,
okay, that's great. And then, and then the other website, La Dolce Vita University. Um, really began as my book's website because that's the name of the book. And I've now evolved. I mean, I have the book, it's in its second edition. The second edition added, I don't know, maybe 150 pages of new content. So it's a pretty big book right now. It's nearly 500 pages. Sometimes I think, oh, I can have a volume one, volume two, because I keep writing. And my the book itself is kind of like a fun encyclopedia, and it's La Dolce Vita University, an unconventional guide to Italian culture from A to Z. And the A to Z is really a reference to, it's organized by letters of the alphabet. So like A is for Arlecchino, A is for Amoroni, A is for Amoretto. And it just, it kind of breaks things into little parts. I say they're tesserae in this like very grand mosaic that is Italy and Italian culture. And so that's the book. But, more and more I have found through speaking engagements that, I do lectures on a particular topic. I also do these trivia challenges, which are Q&As that are fun around a theme like Venice or antiquity or food. I do a Italian cultural trivia for foodies. Always people love that. So I do these programs. And so La Dolce Vita University is now, it's much bigger than the book, but it's kind of this platform, edutainment platform of fun learning and just ways to engage people about Italian culture without being overly academic. Just to engage them in a more playful way. So you learn something, and that's cool, and you're happy.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't hard, It's like, oh, that essay was so hard to read. Right.
I certainly want to get that out to people. One of the, when I was going through it and I saw one of the headlines, the leading ladies of the Renaissance. So I'll tell you why that struck me, because you mentioned her in the paragraph. One of two of my great great grandparents, going way, way back, are Isabella d'Este and Francesco Gonzaga.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, she's so fabulous.
I refer to her as the Jackie Kennedy of the Renaissance.
That's the Jackie O of the Renaissance. Well,
Yeah.
but she was an amazing. Okay, so she was like a fashion icon. I mean, people copied her clothing, and I mean, she was painted by Titian, Rubens. I mean, she desperately wanted Leonardo to paint her, but he did a sketch of her. But she was incredible. But she was a great politician, and
that's right.
She was, first of all, she was the eldest of the d'Este's children, and they really believed in educating daughters in the same way as their sons. And she and for her sister Beatrice married the Duke of Milan. But anyway, they received an amazing education, and she did so much when she married Federico. She did so many things to upgrade the culture of Mantua. It was incredible. But he was a condottieri, but she was much more like, she had, her political acumen was much better. He was, captured. She negotiated with the King Charles of France for his release. She also managed to get Mantua promoted to a duchy, which was like a really big deal back in the day. I mean, that would be like having statehood granted. So it was really big. But, she's amazing, and, she had a great education. She came from money, all of those things that you would expect. But she really did it right. And, she's amazing. I can't believe you're related to her. That's
I never knew who she was before I started doing the research. My grandmother in the picture up there behind me. she's from two noble families, Caracciolo and Pirmalo. And through the Caracciolo line, I descend from Isabella d'Este
Oh
and
my God.
countless other people. Pope Paul III is another grandfather.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
And
Oh
somebody
my
asked me the other day, I thought popes couldn't have children. I said, well, back then,
God. Back then, right?
it's a different world.
Wow. That's incredible. Was he in the Counter Reformation? He was important.
He was
Didn't Bernini sculpt him?
I don't know. He was Pope, I guess. It was Pope for 15 years from, I don't know, 1524, 5, some
Yeah. So,
1520s
I
and
mean,
30s.
there's an amazing painting of him in Capodimonte in Naples, painted by Titian. I'll
Yes,
send
I've
this
seen,
to you.
I've seen,
Yeah,
yeah, I have it. Yeah,
yeah,
I know
yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
No, he was he was very important in the Council of Trent. I mean,
Yes,
he's
yeah.
another he's really politically incredibly important, because I mean the church's brand was really tarnished, after kind of the Medici. Like, there was a lot of spending, the Borgia, all that, a lot of spending. But he kind of straightened up things and got like the house in order, and was the whole that was really he was really important. Wow. Wow,
Uh,
I'm like very impressed that I know you. Wow.
I,
Cool.
well, the interesting thing about him was, he was, he was Alexander the Fourth's girlfriend's brother.
Yes.
So
Right.
that's how he became a cardinal at the age of 18.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know. I love all this kind of the Peyton place of, like, the soap opera of all of it. It's just so
And
interesting.
he made his, well, he had sons and grandsons and all of that. But
Right.
yeah, I come through that line, and
Wow.
I didn't know until we got to Naples, and we didn't get there. But there's one of the I guess it must be the Capodimonte. They have
Capodimonte.
all the Farnese
The
portraits.
Farnese, right? And then they
Yeah,
have the Farnese bull,
yeah,
right? Which
yeah.
is incredible. That well, I mean, the museums. I mean, I love the archaeological museum has the bull, and then the Capodimonte has the paintings. Uh, and I was there last not last summer, the summer before. It
Yeah,
was
well,
it was fun.
in the Duomo, in the
Yeah.
Duomo, there's Saint Francis Caracciolo,
Oh,
and he's not in my direct line, but he's a distant whatever he is. Um,
right.
but we got a tour of the Duomo from one of the Caracciolo di Torchiolo, my grandmother's family. He was nice enough to come and talk to us about the statue and all of that. And then in another part, my um, my grandmother's father was from the Dukes of Capocota, Piromalo. Actually, they were the Counts of Montebello in Calabria. Her,
Wow.
my third great grandfather was
Wow.
the Count of Montebello. He married Duchess Beatrice Capici Piccicelli, and in the
Cool.
Duomo, there's a little side chapel with the Capici in the floor, that crest. And then on the wall, there's another thing that she put in there that mentions both families.
Wow,
Um,
that's fantastic. Wow. I'm
uh,
so impressed.
don't be impressed with me. I didn't do anything, but
No, I mean, because I can't go much further back. I mean, so Tommy Di Magella,
Damigella,
right?
yes, yeah, I
Right.
know
Well,
him
I
well.
mean, he's royal
Yes, he
too.
is too. He's
He's
got,
like,
yeah.
really, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he told me his story. I was like,
I'm
wow.
a little more noble than he is, but
Yeah, they really, there you go. So,
well, what happened was the way I found it is my grandmother brought her father's, I say, calling card, about the size of an index card. And it says on there, has his name and the crest, and it says from the Dukes of Capocota. And as a little boy, it was always in the photo book, and I always asked my
Right.
mother about it, and she would say, and that was my father's family, and blah blah blah. So that's kind of where I started with my father's family. I never really, I had no idea what I was actually going to find. And
Wow.
when I put him in, I figured I typed him into Google, and I figured, well, I'll find a little thing here or there, and um, he popped up of the page from the Libro d'Oro showed up with him marrying Amelia Caracciolo, and I had never heard that name. And I called my cousin Louise, who lived with my grandparents. I said, "Do you know? Do you know who this is? It looks like it's the family, but do you know?" And she says, "Oh, of course. That's known as Mother." And the names all fit because my father was Nicola, named after his grandfather. My oldest aunt was Amelia, named after Amelia Caracciolo, who married Nicola Piromallo. So all of that fit. The dates fit.
Right.
Everything fit.
Great. Wow.
But I had no idea. So once I found that, I traced them back through the Libro d'Oro back to 950 in Naples, the earliest Caracciolo, the first
Wow.
Caracciolo.
Wow.
And so again, when we went to the state archives, and for people who go to Naples, the state archives is really a cool place. So when we went there, they had us go in and they showed us one of the oldest records that they have in there is a Caracciolo record from 1100.
Wow.
And the Italians, nothing's done under glass, no glove,
Right.
just go through everything.
So I had these problems in Acciatora where their records, they went back like 100 years. That was it. And then I've sort of figured out that I have to go to Portenza or something because they have nothing further for me. So I kind of came to a dead end. Um, but I haven't given up. I mean, I have a lot kind of going on right now, but I feel like my Danubili line, it would be easier for me to follow than my father's side for a variety of reasons. But
Well,
yeah,
my mother's side. Now, my mother's that's why the book is Farmers and Nobles. My mother
right,
was from a farming family in Torito, right?
right,
In America, that didn't matter. Over there, nothing would have happened, right?
right, right.
Um, but now her family, I was so amazed because Torito and Acquaviva dell'Infante, where they're from, there's hundreds of records. All of that stuff has been filmed, and I found 120,
Wow.
130 records just like that right off the bat. It's all on the Antonati. I found my grandparents, both their birth records. I found their marriage record. I found aunts and uncles' birth records. I mean, I found a ton of stuff. But it all depends on who, because each region is different. It depends on who they want to, how much they want to let
Right,
familysearch.org go in there and film them and index them. And
right.
my guess is they filmed a lot of these records, but they're not indexed. And that's why and there's so many, that's why places like the big cities like Naples and some of the larger cities in
Cities,
Calabria and Sicily, you can't find them. They're there, but you can't find them because they
find
haven't
them.
been indexed yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Because I've talked to the people at Family Search. I've interviewed them, and that's what they said. They said we do the filming, but we rely on volunteers to go out there and index the
Right,
records.
right,
So
right,
that's why sometimes they may be there, you just can't find them because they haven't been indexed yet.
right. That's interesting.
Um,
Good to know.
but I'm a crazy nut job with all of this stuff. So,
Right.
and again, in the back of the book, the back cover from the book is my grandmother, and I just got this few months, well, maybe 6 months ago. My cousin that I had never known up until 8 months ago found this among his mother's things, and it's the postcard that my grandmother sent to her father in Italy around 1919.
Wow.
and his mom. His mom is my grandmother's half sister, or and they were my great grandfather married somebody 30 years younger than him after my great grandmother died,
Right.
and she saved this. So I was just blown away when he sent me this picture and said,
Right.
my mother had this postcard. So
Right.
this is a postcard to Italy as opposed to a postcard from Italy.
From Italy. I know. It's incredible.
And her
Just
handwriting
incredible.
on the back, her handwriting on the back. So,
Right.
and uh, it was happy, but it was also sad because she knew when she wrote this postcard, she was never going to see her father again.
Father again. Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so,
Right.
but I tell people all the time, I said, you never know what you're going to find. You have to keep digging. Sometimes you have to walk away for a while,
Right.
to clear your head.
Exactly.
But it's out there. You just have to be patient, and then something will pop up.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm certainly gonna get those websites out there, and we'll encourage people to send their trips and put them on
There are
postcards
pictures. I
from the
would
booth.
really love that. And it's nice. People write to me. I mean, I have gotten a lot of new friends just through, people, and I don't know, people kind of discover it either organically or someone shares it with them or whatever. So, yeah, but I really feel, uh, you know, that I'm a little bit on a mission to
Me
share and
too. Yeah,
engage, and that I'm doing something. It's small, but it feels important. And since the days of the restaurant, I mean, I've just met so many interesting people, and my life's just taken a different direction, and it just gives me joy. Uh, it's very. Some people have the right temperament for a restaurant. And I did for a little while, but it's a lot of repetitive things. You have to do things the same way. People expect consistency, and I I just really want to share with others the things that give me pleasure, which have everything to do with Italy. And I don't know, it just makes me want to get up in the morning and, do my stuff because, and especially when you get feedback and okay, it's small, but it means something to somebody. It really
yeah,
matters.
yeah. I feel exactly the same way. I, you know, I retired from banking. I guess it's 6 or 7 years ago, and this has pretty much been my life. My wife says to me, "You're looking for dead people again?" I said,
Ah,
"Yes, I'm afraid I am."
yeah,
Uh,
well,
but
keep it up.
but that's my goal. My goal is to my goal now, I feel, is to kind of one, educate people, like you said, about the good things about Italy, not all this crappy stuff we see in the movies, and then
Right,
also we got to get our youth connected back there. That's
right.
very, very important to
Right,
me.
and it's interesting because I have a very dear friend that I've met through my lecturing, and she's the head of Italian studies at Kent State, and she also runs their overseas program. And what she says is, just give me a kid for 2 weeks, and I will change their life. And
Hmm.
she's one of the most amazing, charismatic people. You should speak to her. I'll send you her name. She's amazing. And she is like this Pied Piper. She's amazing. And it's and then you have someone like that who can facilitate this for young people. And what's sad is, for example, in certain universities, Italian studies programs are being, dismantled. I mean, and it's crazy because it's like, oh well, we have to make it easier for people to graduate, so we won't have a language requirement or whatever, and it's tragic.
Yeah,
But um, she's this is one of the most charismatic educators and she's an amazing person. You must connect with her.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to get her on an interview for
Yeah,
sure. No question
yeah,
about it. No question.
absolutely.
Well, thanks, Carla. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking the time all the way from Venice, and we'll have to talk again.
Yes, it's very La Serenissima today, very serene. So it was wonderful. I'm so glad you had me, and I had a lot of fun. Great to
Great,
meet
great.
you and get to know you.